worried that you might be the cool kid, you wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends? Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream, always so generic, more normal than your friends? Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard, 'cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. Tyler, Phil, and Boris. So Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
It's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for a new episode of the It's Canon podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything geek, the podcast where we talk about everything pop culture, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything, because as the title of the name show goes is, oof, that's a rough one, but we're going to keep going.
Take two.
We're going to keep going, my friends, because as the title of the name says, it is all in Canon. Holy crap. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and I am joined by Phil.
Where is this place? I've been locked up. Help.
And Tyler.
Got a wine cellar and feeling fine.
That's, you see, you're like 10 steps ahead of us. You're living in 2033. We're still in 1985.
No, man, I am preparing for the end of the world. I'm getting solar panels. I got extra freezers. I'm going to buy a whole pig this year and butcher it myself.
Nice.
I'm going Alex Jones in this shit. I know it's not a good reference with this week.
But it's topical, and that's what we do here on the It's Canon podcast.
Gotta get those SEO numbers.
Thank you for, so that means we have to say Bungie ruined Halo.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I'm not gonna lie. I gave up on Halo.
No, 343 ruined Halo.
343. 343. You see, it's been a while.
Bungie.
It's been a while.
Been a while, you're telling me.
Ruined
But-
Bungie.
Yeah, Bungie ruined Bungie.
Bungie did their own job, but yeah, my issue is exactly that. Since, picking up right where we left off, 343 has made an absolute mess of Halo. Like, we're a year after release, or almost, and we still don't have co-op on Infinite. Like, it's just absolutely laughable.
What's laughable is the intro to this episode. That's what's laughable. But anyways, thank you to everyone for having a listen. It's been a while, as the song says, but yeah, sometimes real life takes over, and it's one of those things, I've said it before and I'll say it again, unless we're going to be pumping out episodes each and every single week, sometimes I'd rather just keep taking a break. We found the right window. We're back. We're still chugging to episode 100. We got some announcements. We got some retooling. We got some stuff we're going to do in episode 100 and moving forward, because there will be episodes moving forward after 100. But yeah, we're back. So thank you to all of our quote-unquote loyal listeners, and hello to any new listeners. We are the It's Canon podcast. We talk, Tyler, you've been around since the beginning, since 2015. How do you describe the show?
We talk about various things in the pop culture and nerdier side of the news, which over the lifetime of this show has become more and more of just the news.
Right?
It's just become culture. And, we stumble and fumble, but try to be entertaining and drop some real wisdom in the process.
Yep.
Sometimes we accomplish, and sometimes we accidentally enable a sociopath.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think that's the best
We
way
accidentally enabled a sociopath.
Exactly. That's the best way to put it. But yeah. Oh, oof, Jesus. I almost missed that for a second. But yeah, here we are chatting all things, everything. I think this is our first episode since the beginning of April, and it has been a little while. It has been a few months. And what's weird is that I feel like every conversation we were having in January, February, March, things are actually happening exactly how we said it would. Let's see. The tech industry is still bombing right now to the point where, well, that we're seeing layoffs across the board. Disney's gonna Disney. Where do
NFTs collapsed slightly ahead of schedule.
Yes,
I thought they had a little bit more money to prop them up.
Yep. NFTs are basically
Crypto.
done. Crypto. Where do we start with crypto?
Alex
I got
Jones.
I got a 5-part special that I have re-recorded half of, and it's going to be out now because I'm like, I cannot delay it again with more news happening, which has happened 3 times now because I was almost done and then NFTs cratered, and I was like, that's 3 episodes that need re-recorded.
And where do we start with Discovery Warner? Like, where do we even start with that company? But before we get into everything, Phil,
Well, I know exactly where to start.
how are you?
You know what? I'm doing all right. Same as you guys. I've had life happening. You know what I mean? Like when the show's not there to be that anchor, you kind of start figuring out that you can nap like a cat and you can play video games until obscene hours in the morning and still function at a somewhat career. And yeah, it's working from home. So I'm in this domicile space and just motoring through things, but really, really uneventful in a lot of good ways. And, you know, some health fun, but that's part of life. So
Yeah.
how are you,
Me?
Mr. Boris and Mr. Tyler? Yeah, how are you guys? I because we haven't really talked.
Yeah.
You
Other
go
than to
first,
say-
Boris, because I have so much to cover.
I love how you're
I
actually
have
busy.
so much
Like,
to cover, and some stuff's gonna get real.
all right. So things have been busy for me. Obviously, everyone who listens knows that I run a few other podcasts and a podcasting network. That's been super busy. That's actually kept me kind of, off, off the deep end, to say the least. Just, life has been life. Just recovering from COVID. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't even know where I honestly got it. I've just been back and forth a
TFC
lot.
game.
I haven't gone to a
TFC game.
TFC game.
Oh, damn it.
Right? Right?
Sorry, but everybody I know has been going to TFC games getting COVID. So
I know.
Licking doorknobs.
Exactly. It's worse than licking doorknobs. Have you ever seen a soccer supporter? And welcome back to our soccer supporting listeners.
Oh no, I was saying you got COVID from licking doorknobs.
Oh, from licking door, pretty much. But yeah, no, it was one of those things. Like, I honestly have no idea where I got it, and I wish it was one of the, it's almost to the point where I wish I was stupid and did something stupid to get it. And by that I mean, not mask up, go to a rave, do something really dumb, right? Like, but you just never know. You're in public transportation now. Barely anyone wears masks. You go to a store. It's been a free for all, right? And COVID just been rampant here in Ontario. Anyways, don't want to get into those details, but yeah, overall much better now. I think I still get some headaches, some concentration issues, but that just could be me and age at this point. But I'm no spring chicken. But overall, doing well, doing busy, and I'm so happy to be back chatting not only about the tech industry, not only about geek stuff, not only about everyday news, but chatting with you two, man. It's been like, Phil said it already, like, we've barely talked just because we've been so freaking busy. But I think the busiest person out of the 3 of us is you, Tyler. So what's going on in the life of Ty?
Yeah, I'm really sorry to steal some fucking thunder, but it has been a roller coaster over here. So I'm going to start with the more fun news and trend more serious. So first of all, I started streaming on that whole Twitch thing. The kids are apparently into it. I run Call of Cthulhu for them now, and we've had a banger first 2 months. The 2-month anniversary was Tuesday this week, I think. I'm bad at math. It's been going phenomenal. You should super check it out if you like that kind of thing. If you don't, don't worry about it. It's a weird... I still don't understand why anyone watches other people play RPGs, and I watch other people play RPGs. So it's fine. It's whatever it is.
Explain the cultural phenomena in the geek world of Critical Role.
I mean, I don't know how. So Critical Role isn't even the first one.
No,
but it is the one that first one that made it big of just, it's a bunch of... Critical Role was voice actors who all just were playing Pathfinder together, and then got a deal with Geek and Sundry to play basically play D&D in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And it has since blown up, and it's become a huge industry to the point that
Comics, Netflix shows, it is insane.
well, so streaming so streaming RPGs alone, not counting the fact they have a cartoon on Amazon, not counting Critical Role has 3 RPG books out, not counting the fact that Penny Arcade was one of the first actual plays and has a Wizards of the Coast book out, not counting any of that shit, just the streaming side of it is an industry of itself that might be like bigger than certain other like weird niches out there.
Yeah.
Like it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that is bananas to the point where I have half a dozen friends who went and got paid to go to Gen Con last week and play RPGs in front of a crowd and got paid for it.
You know, this
That's
makes me feel
weird.
dumb. Remember when we started the show with Kyle, wherever Kyle is, you know, we still need to put his face on milk cartons. We were so close to wanting to start a D&D game on a podcast or a platform, YouTube or something. This is 2015. I regret not actually doing that.
I mean, I had done it prior to that because my
Yeah.
first podcasting was doing that in the early days. And God damn it, I wish I had kept doing it because
Right.
like just from momentum, you got so much help with that. But it's a crazy awesome industry. On top of that, I've had multiple books come out. I've signed
Love it.
contracts for more books.
Look at you. Look at you. Proud of you, buddy.
The project that I am the most in love with that I've ever been involved with.
The Canon
is
podcast.
Oh no. Here's the thing. Love you guys. Love this.
Dog shit.
But
Doesn't pay the fucking bills.
no, here's the thing. The project I am working on with Stygian Fox, if I got paid nothing and just got to put it out in the world, I would still be happy. Don't tell them that. I'm going to make sure they don't listen to this episode. But it is a setting book for RPGs about queer people in 1920s New York. And it's about fighting the powers that be, about the cops being corrupt. And look, that doesn't need to be modern day politics. The cops in 1920s New York were laughably corrupt.
Exactly.
Like
Fair.
we don't need to talk about now. They were comically corrupt. They were like, oh yes, we just take bribes and that determines who we enforce the law on.
Yeah.
And it's
not much has changed.
empowering. Well, look, I'm trying to sidestep that for right now. We can go into that later. But so it's been phenomenal creative work. I have been making enough money doing just creative work for a while now.
Dude, that's
and I'm
awesome.
like, oh shit.
That's
I
amazing.
bought our freezer died and I bought 2 new freezers with writing money and was like, this sucks, but I can do it.
Man,
So it's been phenomenal.
honestly, seeing your evolution as a creative has put the warm and happies in me. You know, it's made certain body parts tingle, the heart, before you could freaks think anything else. But no, seriously.
I
But
wasn't
seeing
gonna
where
say
you
it.
started, seeing where you started, right? Like, you know, dare I say, struggling to find projects, right? Or having a project here and there, not knowing where they're going to get paid, not knowing whether it's even going to come out, to, you know, the steady stream. Dude, even a year ago, you know, you were still kind of struggling again just because things were just so up in the air, right?
the COVID of it all, right? Like, I mean, I'm not a big deal in my industry by any stretch. And
No.
I feel insanely blessed that people keep buying my stuff when like the world is basically ending. Like COVID happened, France is on fire, and people still need to be entertained. And that is a truth of humanity. And that is fantastic that people are liking the things I'm putting out there. And that's fantastic.
Hey, good work is good work, buddy. Don't undersell it.
Wait, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, to be honest, I know plenty of people who are better writers than me who can't get an audience.
Yeah.
And I feel people are like not as good who get an audience. And we've seen it in comics. We've seen it in movies. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later today with the HBO Max stuff. You know, it's part of it, but it's not all of it. And sometimes it's just, can you find your people?
That's honestly the trick, right? Like, look at our show. I'm proud of our show for the most part. When I'm not proud of it, we get the most listens. Go figure. But, you know, I'm very proud of the show and the quality of the show that we have. And I don't want to say that we struggle to find an audience, but it's not paying the bills. It's not, you know, it's not something that we can retire on. It's not something that we can quit our day jobs off of, right? And then I see other podcasts and brands, and I'm like, number one, these are like, you know, frat bros for lack of a better term, with fart jokes, literally doing what we do and
farting.
Yeah.
Pays rent.
Yeah,
and they're
pays
like,
rent.
that's the no, and you know, I don't, and I love our listeners for it, but I feel like one of the things that we've always not fully grokked is like, who are our listeners? Who are our people?
Yes.
And like we don't always understand.
Look, based off of just the metrics, and you know, you can say what you want about Google Analytics and stuff like that, right? But just based off metrics, our listener base is different than your average geek show, right? Like our demographic for age 25 to 35 women. Like, I need to meet these women because that is our biggest audience. And I'm telling you, I think somewhere there is my future ex-wife, somewhere in that audience.
Boris, it's going to be hard to measure that demographic if they're all like, you know, locked up in your bedroom.
Wow, that's awesome. We need to walk that back. I need to talk about. I think that's part of it, though, right? Is we're not those frat guys, and I think that's part of what we're doing is figuring out who our people are, and then figuring out who we are. And when you're doing something like talking about comics and stuff for, broadly speaking, women, like we seem to be here. We have more women than other podcasts. It's harder to be discovered, right?
Yeah.
Because it's harder to be like, oh, it's another whatever.
Yeah.
To transition to two more serious points.
Yes, go ahead.
A quick one is I've struggled with joint pain for almost a decade now. And I've talked to doctors previously. And it comes from, I used to play rugby and I used to be a wrestler. Like, that was a thing I did in high school. And, like Olympic style wrestling, not WWE. That's not my shtick.
Yeah, Tyler is not a roid rager.
No, like I'm a lanky boy, and in Olympic style wrestling, that can work out because you're in a weight class and you're fighting another lanky boy. Like, I meddled for that, and doctors always told me, yeah, your knees are just fucked. I went to a physiotherapist the past week, and I have been not in pain for the first time since probably 2012.
Wow.
This week has been like, oh my God, I'm not in pain anymore. So if you can afford to, or if you have coverage, go see a physiotherapist, use up your coverage. That's fantastic. It's great.
Nope. You're in Ontario, might need coverage for more than just your average stuff soon. But that's a topic for another podcast.
The last quick thing is, since we last actually talked, I got an ADHD diagnosis. And I got medication for it.
Color me shocked.
Part of being like, I got shit done.
Wow.
It was like, they gave me meth. And wow, getting properly medicated. Like, serious talk. If you have concerns, go talk to a doctor. Go see someone. I didn't get diagnosed till I was in my 30s. And this doctor was like, wow, someone should have diagnosed you when you were a teenager. And I'm like, ugh, that would have been fantastic. But, it's never too late to get your shit figured out and to get better. And I don't mean better like, oh, there's some best way to be. I mean better like, just enjoy your life more. Yeah. Just figure out a better way of being you. Yeah, 100%. And that's been huge. And I think that those are some really important and serious things to look into for yourself. And for me anyways, I don't know if I got COVID. If I got COVID, it was in the very early days when you couldn't get tested. And it was just like, I don't know, stay home. We were all locked at home. if I got COVID, it was then. But this whole thing has had me like really look at what matters and what life is about. And part of it is just like live the best you can. And I think that we're talking about this more in the episode, but a lot of people are taking this time to re-examine what matters. And it's awesome to be able to nerd out and geek out about stuff like this.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Well, that's why we're getting, that's a key reason why we're getting Clerks 3, right? Like just people wanting to just do what they like. And, you know, to that theme of feeling better and all that stuff. So this week I've started a new routine.
Yeah.
You guys know that like when early last year, like I lost a little bit of weight, quite a bit of weight, right? And I never gained it back at all. But I'm like, okay, I got to continue, got to go get back on that boat and continue and just feel better. My sleep schedule has somehow gotten worse. Like you guys have no idea how bad it is right now. And COVID just made it that much worse. So this new routine that I have, this is what it is. Regardless of what time I go to bed, I'm up and out for a Boris walk at around, let's say, 7 in the morning. 7 in the morning.
For the audience, what's a Boris walk?
Boris walk is a very long walk that usually consists of plus 5 kilometers. That's Boris walk. Come back, actually eat breakfast, you know, have a bowl of fruit or something, nothing crazy, bowl of fruit usually, and then do my work day. After work, go for a second Boris walk. Been feeling fucking great. Stretching.
Good.
Been feeling really, really good. Like, as little as I'm sleeping, I've been feeling so energized this week. I've been able to, and I know it's partial just because COVID's gone, but I've been able to concentrate more, feeling better. Today's the one day I didn't do the afternoon Boris walk, but I'll be doing evening Boris walk. But yeah, that's kind of like my new routine, and like I'm already starting to feel like that energy just flow right back in, and I'm loving it. And you know, it's kind of helped me focus more, not only on work but on my side projects. And you know, yeah, it's been one of those weeks.
That's great.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, you can't understate the value of walks. The new little
and
dog,
regular
like,
physical activity, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Exactly. What a time to be alive. But I think it is time to start talking about some news. And I think the biggest news that we should talk about is what the hell is going on with Warner Brothers Discovery. All of this started right before the earnings call last week. You know, rumors were starting to ramp up that Batgirl was being canceled. Batgirl was being pulled. Batgirl was never going to see the light of day. And then a few hours later, it was essentially announced by Warner Brothers Discovery that yes, Batgirl will not see the light of day. Tons of questions why. You know, quality, test scores, budget, all of these rumors started ramping up. And then we started hearing more rumors before the actual earnings call by Warner Bros. Discovery about the possible closing of HBO Max. Because secretly, Warner Brothers Discovery started pulling original movies off of HBO Max.
Which actually, this afternoon, they confirmed that was a series of licensing problems.
Yeah.
And that HBO Max and Discovery are merging summer 2023.
Yep.
A lot of it's going to continue, but there are still a lot of weird questions in the air. And there is a pile of reporting suggesting that layoffs are coming.
Yes. So about 30% of HBO Max staff has already been laid off. Now that's quite a bit, right? And now here's the thing, and this is kind of okay. So this isn't news. This is now Boris just talking. What I find very interesting about this is you have the CEO who's coming from Discovery, who is very used to the world of reality TV. For listeners and you two who may not know, producing a reality TV show is so much cheaper than a scripted show for many reasons, right?
It is comically cheap comparatively.
Yes. Yeah. You spend all your money in editing.
Yeah.
And editing, relatively speaking, is cheap.
Yeah. And well, you get a whole bunch of people to act like basically idiots of varying degrees and edit it together, right? Like
and there's a bunch of stuff on that. My partner is super into reality TV lately since the COVID of it all.
It is dramatic and entertaining.
But there's also like there is so much. So RuPaul's Drag Race is fascinating for how much the audience is in on how much is happening in editing, and how much is like, oh yeah, we haven't fed the cast in 12 hours, and we've given them all they can drink for booze, because that's how you get drama.
Yeah,
like that's how the Bachelor and Bachelorette work. Is we don't feed you, but it's all you can drink.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, that was the prevalent feeling in my head was, okay, what we're gonna see is we're gonna see a lot of scripted shows just being axed. You know, for me, it was more, okay, Batgirl was being canceled. Around the same time, we saw that CW's The Flash season 9 is going to be the last season, you know, and there's been a lot of questions as to what the hell has actually happened with the DC extended universe. We're going to get to that in a second. But, you know, my main thought was, oh God, you know, Warner Bros. Discovery is essentially going to be Discovery Plus. Discovery with major scripted shows, but it's just going to turn into a bunch of reality shows. And that might still be happening, right? I forget what the exact dollar amount is, but essentially they need to find like a few billions in savings. And this is all starting this process. So
it's also worth noting that in buying, just like in that merger, the new company has, and if you look at it from the HBO point of view, $45 billion of additional debt.
Yes.
That has to be serviced and dealt with.
Ugh.
So to an extent, writing some stuff off is not the worst call.
Yeah.
We're going to delve into some of the stuff, and I have a little game for us to play when we get to the Batgirl discussion, so I'm flagging that for Boris. I've got a game when we get around to that.
All right.
Well, and that here's the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Business. All right, you know, like we can talk about Jim Henson had that sketch of business.
Yep.
And it was him talking about the fact that, yeah, you're going to have these corporate decisions, which we can understand. But as a fan, it's worrisome when I'm reading the news and I'm going, is Peacemaker season 2 getting axed?
Exactly.
Is The Last of Us getting axed? Now, all of a sudden, what I hate about Netflix is going to become what I loathe about a service I can't even get here in Canada.
I mean, I was going to say,
there are projects, right, where I'm like, I care about these things and I will get them no matter what, wink, wink, or through whatever means I have to, or whatever subscriptions I need to take out or otherwise. But I'm just saying that those things worry me as a fan, because that's something that COVID gave us all, is that's our life raft, right? Is these escapes at night or whenever we have time to watch them.
I also think that it's worth noting that, like, if the new executive team is like, reality TV is a way to save money, they need to look at Netflix and look at how much Netflix was like, reality TV is a way to save money. Oh no, we're just still hemorrhaging users. Oh no,
yeah.
We're just still hemorrhaging users.
The floor is lava, ladies and gentlemen.
The floor is lava. The Circle.
Yeah.
Love is Blind.
Arguably Squid Games.
Well, they are producing the Squid Games reality show.
Right, they are doing it now. So that's
the reality TV show.
I still have not watched Squid Game.
I love when you hold on to something. You just like, it's your thing. You're never gonna watch that show. But
I'm never gonna watch that show. Same with Harry Potter. Sorry, people.
Oh, same here.
Like subs, not dubs.
But so this whole thing is it's intriguing from a business point of view, because I think a lot of pop culture followers, podcast listeners, and people alike like us are getting a lesson in business, right, and mergers and acquisitions. Because like you said, Tyler, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that, like, you know, because of this merger, there was so much debt inherited that they've got to unload stuff. And it's just unfortunate, right? Like, taking a look at the slate of everything that Warner Bros. Discovery does, it's going to be a lot of fan favorite stuff, right? And unfortunately for us who really follow the comics and really follow the geek stuff, well, it's DC, and that world is going to probably be hit the most.
Yeah, but it's also funny, though. I think that there's going to be aspects of different streaming services that pony up cash, much like, you know, Netflix did for The Sandman this past week. Well, this past a year and a bit, but that's a Warner Brothers product, but it got paid. You know what I mean? Like there's a monetization path for them to do something there. And I think that's going to be the avenue that they chase. And like, look at how much The Sandman distances itself from DCEU. When you look at the comics, we're right in it. So
they easily could have had, you know, the guy who played Constantine in Constantine. They easily could have had the guy who played Lucifer.
Keanu Reeves?
No, you know what?
Now.
This is why.
Now,
I know what you mean, though. They redid it. They repaved a lot, but it's also for inclusiveness, which I appreciated.
Yeah, and there is a rumor that they're gonna have a Joanna Constantine spinoff.
I would watch that.
And they did note that part of it was they wanted to, in part, to limit casting, and in part because Neil Gaiman loved it when they did it in American Gods. He wanted to have the same actor play the modern day Constantine and the old timey Constantine,
right?
Because that's a thing that he is fallen in love with, and rock on. Well, that makes sense.
He did it. He did it in The Sandman too with Joanna, right? Like
that's what I'm saying.
She played her mother or whatever. Yeah, her
great grandmother. Right?
There you go. The time stuff. I'm not good with it.
Timey wimey.
I thought of you though. I was just like, oh, Tyler's probably eating this up. But anyhow, I digress. Boris, put us back on track, please.
I'm trying to think what the track was. Oh yeah, I remember now. So this whole thing is really intriguing just from a business perspective. So I need to ask the two of you, what do you see is the future of all of this? Phil, what do you think?
I think that you're on to something. Like between what we're all saying is, I believe, the right path. They're going to cut out a lot of the extraneous crap, a lot of the stuff that's guaranteed not to make their money, even though the fan bases are there. The fact is that that fan base is a measured fan base, and they know what that fan base is going to yield. All right, so this is really nasty corporate stuff, but they're going to go, Batgirl's not going to make a bananas amount of money, and there's nothing at stake in this film. So we're going to do this with it. And then they're looking at other projects in the same way. I think that they're going to do more reality TV because it's cheap to make, and when it fails, it doesn't hurt the bottom line. And then they're going to farm out a bunch of stuff that goes to other production houses, and they pay through the nose to make it, to get that property and to have that logo on it, right? And to sit there and go, this is ours, we own it, you want it, okay, we'll give it to you, but at a cost. And then you look at their relationship with Sony, with The Last of Us and things like that. I think that it's all married with The Last of Us re-release that's coming up in September. Like, if you can't, I know fans are upset about that, but you can smell the bullshit a mile away on all of this stuff, right? Like, there's no doubt about it. I'm like,
what do you mean?
Oh, well, that the magical PS5 re-release of a game that doesn't need a re-release. It's already been re-released twice in its history.
Yeah.
And you want to re-release it for a new console generation, which it's still hard as hell to get that console, and fans are getting upset about that. But they release a new version of it just because they know that Christmas is coming. Eventually, The Last of Us TV show is going to come out, and eventually there's going to be this wave of normie buzz about how great The Last of Us is. And we've all played the crap out of it. Like, and I'm not trying to say normal people are bad, but I'm just saying the geekdom's already gone there, played it, played the sequel, and then, you know what I mean? Like they've consumed it. You're not going to get anything by these people.
Yeah.
But the normie crowd is going to go, oh, geez, Billy got a PS5, and I just think that it would be great if me and the husband could sit down and play Last of Us and just have a real adult time playing a real serious adult game because we really like the show. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's blatant.
Yeah.
It's blatant.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
And
I
that's
knew
a strategy.
that. I just wanted you to expand on that.
It's just that strategy, right?
Yeah.
And it's corporate. It reeks of corporate decision.
Okay.
It doesn't have any authenticity.
You complain. You call it bullshit, yada, yada, yada. You know you're going to buy the game.
When it's on sale at deep discount? I'll think about it if we're talking about $5, or if it's going into my $140 a year for PlayStation premium gold, platinum,
I was gonna say
stuff.
it'll
You
be
know,
on-
like you throw it in that. Okay, I'll download it. I'll play it. But you know what? I still haven't finished the second game all the way through because it was too emotionally charged.
Oh, that is emotionally like
Still.
devastating parts of that.
The best
But-
thing that Last of Us released is that DLC for the first game.
Yeah. That was a good DLC.
Yeah.
I will
Tyler.
say that. And you know what? I had to fight my way through that game.
Yeah. Tyler, what are your thoughts on all this?
I got a fun little game to play, which is going to lead into my thoughts because this
That's
is the time
exactly-
for the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's time for the game. So, do either of you know what the budget for Batgirl was?
70 million.
It's 170, sorry.
No, it was 90.
It was 90,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Reported
congratulations.
budget's 90.
Yeah.
So that 170, based upon my research, which these numbers are super soft because Hollywood accounting is 90 million. And that 170 would have been like with marketing expenses, which marketing for a Hollywood movie is
Insane.
I don't even know how we could cover it without doing a university level course to explain all the ins and outs.
I heard that it was a $70 million budget, but that's apparently wrong.
What is being reported is 90. So it might have been 70 and we're 90 mil or 20 mil into CGI and stuff. Let's say it's 90. Let's say it's 90.
I'm just curious. Did this movie get made?
Yeah.
Define made. Like the shooting's done. It's in post-production.
Okay. Principal was done.
Yep.
Yep.
In post. Okay.
Yep.
That's what I was curious about because that's what I thought I read.
Yeah. It might have needed reshoots, but who knows?
Yeah.
Like, let's say no reshoots. Let's say it was 90 mil.
And we're
If
talking
they're-
Commissioner Gordon's daughter.
Yeah. Well, we need to talk about some other stuff with that first.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there because the casting alone is like, how did you make this movie for 90 mil? You got to remember the casting includes Michael Keaton and
Exactly.
J.K. Simmons.
Yep. Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons was Gordon. Do you know who the villain was?
Yeah. Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser played the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this get stopped? I'm already mad.
So I don't know why it got canceled. Like
I heard because the plot didn't have any high stakes in it.
sure.
They just
felt
felt like it was just a story.
we're gonna. Oh no, a movie that's just a story.
I know, right? How absurd is that? And everyone reacts, rightfully so, with, I'd watch a story over some, fake high stakes Justice League bullshit.
We're gonna play a game, which is: was this movie cheaper or more expensive than Batgirl?
Okay.
This is gonna be a series of movies from the past 30 years.
I have a feeling that almost all of these are going to be cheaper, just so that you can say how cheap this was and why this got cut.
Oh, you mean
that's-
more expensive? Are these adjusted for inflation? Obviously.
I was gonna say not adjusted for inflation because
To prove his point further. I'm right, aren't I? No?
nope.
Okay.
Well, you're close, Boris. Boris is close to the conclusion. But part of the issue is as soon as you try to adjust for inflation with movies, it gets a little bit
It gets a little bit crazy.
because it is. Do you adjust for inflation when it was made?
Yeah.
Was released?
Yeah.
So we're going for.
I would do released, but okay, fair enough point.
Sure.
Fair point.
Sure. I am. Boris is fair that I need to elucidate the terms.
Mm-hmm.
1998 movie starring Michael Keaton, who was going to be reprising his role as Batman and Batgirl, Jack Frost, a Christmas fantasy comedy film. Was the budget? Oh, sorry. It was also a box office bomb, grossing only $34 million. Was its budget more or less than Batgirl?
Considering this was a theatrical release, considering this was a Christmas movie, I'm going to say more.
I'm gonna say I know what my movie of the year is for you guys, the year end. But I'm gonna say more too, just because I believe that that's the point of this experiment.
Nah, less $85 million.
Jesus.
1998.
1998. So that's like 150 million now.
Right? All right. Next up. From the year 2000, we were spared from 9/11. We were not spared from 9/11. We were spared from Y2K.
Yes.
No, yet happened.
And we had Conan O'Brien going, in the year 2000.
I used to
Got
love
it.
that.
Remember that.
Starring the incredibly rare jacked James Spader.
Jesus.
Supernova.
Oh.
Which has been described as Hellraiser in outer space.
Oh, God.
It's a terrible movie.
What do you mean?
Grossed $14.8 million.
That much? Jeez.
Was its budget more or less than Batgirl?
I'm saying more.
Phil?
It's outer space. I got to go with more.
Sorry, it was a trick question. The answer is the same.
It's the same. There we go.
Fair. But in today's money, that's like 170 million.
I mean, right?
How the hell did they film a movie for $90 million?
Look, we're going to get to that. Next up is the 2001 black comedy Monkey Bone, who I need to remind you, the cast is Brendan Fraser, Whoopi Goldberg, Rose McGowan, Dave Foley, Giancarlo Esposito, Megan Mullally, Chris Kattan, John Turturro, and Bob Odenkirk.
Wow.
Holy crap.
It had a box office of 7.6 million.
I want to choose this as my Christmas gift to you guys. Monkey Bone.
Separately, Monkey Bone's a fantastic movie. It is underrated because it's so. Whoopi Goldberg plays death.
Amazing.
Actually, I kind of want to see this now, yeah. Monkey Bone.
Giancarlo Esposito plays Death's brother, Hypnos, the god of sleep.
Wow.
Oh, wow. This is really taking a page out of a book that we were already talking about.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm going to say
More or
less.
less than Batgirl. Phil?
What?
More or less than Batgirl.
I'll go with... Oh, man, that cast. I got to go with more.
Boris?
Less.
Oh, it's less. It's $75 million.
Well, but that's like 140 million today's money.
I mean, Phil, God damn it. You're getting to the joke at the end. Here's the last one. Little underheard movie. You probably haven't heard of it. Really obscure
We
movie.
need to vet these a little bit.
Kind of an artsy film from 1984. Stars an unknown actor called Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator 2.
Oh, who ever heard of that?
Unheard of. Boris, more or less.
More.
Phil?
There was so much CG at a time without CG. And have you seen this boy guy in it?
I will say,
So I got to go with
I
more.
know what the budget is. Like, I actually do know this. This is one of those weird numbers I know.
I got to say more because it's the guy that... have you seen this boy?
Yep.
His
Boris,
brother
what's
is
the
the lead singer of Filter. Come on.
Phil.
Boris,
Terminator
what's
2.
the budget?
Terminator 2.
James
Terminator 2.
what's
100
the
million.
94, motherfucker.
Fucking sake.
94.
94, according to Wikipedia. But yeah, you all have got onto the joke of how does Batgirl only cost 90 million to make with that cast?
Yeah. Agreed.
Like this movie.
And
was
therein lies.
When's the last Brendan Fraser movie you went and saw?
Encino Man.
I love that he's in this, but he's not prolific lately, is he?
Oh, he is. Oh, his
is he
career
good?
is
Okay,
back
I just
and then
miss his
some.
movies.
He was in Doom
I know
Patrol.
I know he's been in movies, but what's he done lately?
Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol.
Okay.
I mean,
And Batgirl.
that's like alone recent. Line of Descent. Pawn Shop Chronicle. I mean, look, there's a lot, and that's not great.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm saying is that he's been
a voice actor for a while now.
Yeah, he's having a time, and that's okay. I'm not dissuading anybody who's a big Brendan Fraser fan. So if you got a big Brendan Fraser problem, don't send it to the It's Canon podcast show. All right. I can't even remember the show at It's Canon Podcast.com.
It's worth noting that Michael Keaton, who is hot off of Spider-Man and Birdman still, this was him reprising being Batman.
And there's always rumors of him returning to the Bat franchise in some capacity, right?
Well,
but that was this. That was this.
And Flash and the Flash.
Damn it.
Which motherfucking Ezra Miller might get the Flash single-handedly canceled.
Yeah, because he stole booze. Like, what the hell? He got arrested. He got arrested shoplifting booze.
The dude kidnapped people.
I know, but I'm just saying, each week. What? How bad is things? This guy's got a rap sheet the size of, and they're like, they can't, that girl, no.
We need to. I think we need to separate those, and I don't love that we have to separate those, but it looks like as of today, the Flash is being also just let's just write that off.
Yeah.
Which again, the Flash is more than double the budget of Batgirl. We just need to also it's
they put
over
a lot
200
into that.
Yeah.
So this guy kidnapped people? I didn't hear about that. I heard that he stole boots.
No. Oh,
jeez.
Phil,
yeah.
My sweet summer child, my honey bunch.
I represent the idiots of the crowd. Yes.
Sugar pie honey bunch.
Okay, you don't have to tell me. I'll just take your word for it. He kidnapped people. I don't need details. I got to sleep tonight.
Multiple people. Oh. He has multiple break-in entries. He has multiple stalking allegations.
What is that guy's malfunction? Wow.
The dude is sorry, that was unfair. A person being mentally unwell is not justification to misgender them. This person, Ezra Miller, who goes by they, them, is not doing well and needs some mental health support.
They need some help. Yes.
100%.
Honestly, all joking aside, this is different, but it just reminds me of the fall of Robert Downey Jr., right? Where it felt like every time you turned on the news, Robert Downey Jr. was just getting arrested for something.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
So,
let's hope he turns it around and gets help. I say he, they, them. What were pronouns? They.
Yep.
So they get the help they need. That's all I want for that person is to get out of that.
Yeah, so Flash, we don't know what's going to happen. Aquaman, during our hiatus, I think literally the entire time of our hiatus, there was that little trial that everyone was just so captivated on. And yeah, just DC Extended Universe is just in such a mess, which this is the last point I'm going to make before we move on to the next topic, and that is during the earnings call. Apparently, zero details around this, but apparently Discovery, Warner, whatever you want to call the company, they are working on a 10-year plan for the DC Extended Universe, whatever that means.
I mean, look, it's going to be more... The thing is, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to do this, and they keep trying to make sure it's an extended universe before they make sure they make good movies.
Yep.
I agree.
Right? As much as you can argue Marvel's misstepping now, but they earned the right to have the crossovers, the extended universe, by putting out good movies and putting out movies that made their money back before even being we're making the Avengers.
Yep. That's exactly it. All right, so that is the DC Extended Universe. We'll see what happens. We're obviously going to be talking about whatever is going on with the Warner Bros. Discovery merger. I think that this is going to be huge news up until their next earnings call, really. So that is that. So starting next Sunday, we are getting huge releases. House of Dragon comes out next Sunday, August 21st. September 2nd, the new Lord of the Rings show on Amazon comes out. Phil, this kind of put a little damper on something that we've been waiting for. Talk about it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed as a fan. Disney had Andor placed and ready. They've been hyping this thing up at all of the Star Wars fan celebration and whatnot. They were saying that we have got so much confidence in this show that even before the first season premieres at X date, we're going to go ahead and greenlight a season 2 because we believe in this product so much. They're out of the volume. The fans are excited. The trailers are fantastic. And lo and behold, like the other week, they come out and they release a new trailer, which was very welcome. And they kind of tell everybody that they're backing their dog out of that fight because really, there's just, at the end of the day, there's too much coming out. And you know who's going to lose is Star Wars, unfortunately. So I understand the move, but I also just laugh at how many times they can move a date. And they've been doing this a lot with a lot of things. And that's a trend that I don't know if it signals a problem at the top with Bob Chapek and all of the rumors that keep on circulating, or if it's just one of these phantom things, just like I keep on being told by Mike Zero on YouTube that Kathleen Kennedy's days are numbered and she got fired 7 years ago, but it's just been reporting to her job every day and everyone accepts it. So it's just one of these things where I'm like, I don't know. I'm disappointed in Disney's lack of faith in it. But I also understand at the same point, they released a poster yesterday of every single air date of every episode going through to November. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to mark their spot. They're trying to say this is when you can come and get your Star Wars geek on. But It's frustrating, especially after Obi-Wan, because I don't know about you guys. I watched Obi-Wan. I like Obi-Wan. I don't dislike anyone who loves it and really hates everybody else or hates it and hates everybody else anyway, because that's a Star Wars fan. But I'm just like, I feel the same about Obi-Wan that I do about Solo. I don't know why it needed to happen at the end of the day. I loved a lot of the stuff that was in there. I just don't know what was really accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Money.
Yeah, money, obviously, but it just felt like it was about money. I love seeing Ewan McGregor. I love seeing like all the people return. I love the angle with Leia. I love certain episodes more than other episodes. I don't hate on anything. I love the ties to Jedi Fallen Order and whatnot. But all that being said, there was a lot of paper thin writing going on in that show as well. And a lot of lackluster character development, which isn't the fault of any actress or actor and whatnot. And I just feel like things are getting really, really flimsy at Disney. But then I look at a week like, last week where I get a great thing like The Sandman on Netflix and I go, there is hope for some of these struggling streamers. And then we also get Prey out of Disney Plus.
Oh, that
was
so good.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, so be careful with me.
I'm not saying a gosh darn thing.
I'm about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. And I'm like, I like this part of Disney Plus. Do this for Star Wars, please. Do this for other things. Just more of what you're doing in that area of FX and whatnot, or Star or whatever it's called on our streaming here in Canada. But that's my 2 cents of a grumpy, graying old man.
Yep. So you alluded to it before. Andor was moved a couple weeks. So September 21st, episode 1, 2, and 3 come out. And then each and every single week, there's one episode until November 23rd. That's when we get episode number 12.
Yeah, and one of my friends who's not a Star Wars fan, who has seen Rogue One and walked away from Rogue One, which I think is one of the better Star Wars movies that's been done since the Disney ownership. Unfortunately, he said, the reason why I hated Rogue One is because I knew what the ending was. They either had to kill them all or, the story goes on, right? Like there's no change. Unfortunately, I feel kind of the same way about Andor. No matter how many awesome things you can show me, why weren't they in other things canonically, which they're not going to be, and I understand why. But, okay, we're going to create some great robots that don't ever reappear in Star Wars. And then you have to deal with the fact that we know that Andor dies. We know his fate. So he's going to be there next week. He's going to survive. There's not many cliffhangers. So I'm curious to know how they solution that in a show. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It looks great.
It does. It does. Tyler,
I
any
got
thoughts?
a little bit of Star Wars.
I think Phil's entirely right. And I think that one of the problems Star Wars faces is the exact same problem Star Trek faced for ages of now what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like after you did TNG and DS9 and Voyager, you reached this point where it was really difficult to determine what came next. And, you know, for Star Trek, it was, we kind of dealt with like, we have a post, how do I put this? We have a post scarcity society. We have a bunch of these other issues that like are no longer a problem. Now what do we do? And I think that's the problem Star Wars has, is they don't know what to do. And they're too scared to like just commit to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the words out of the production studio is that Taika Waititi's Star Wars is a bloody mess.
Well, I mean, I calling a spade, I genuinely do not know what you'd be allowed to do for Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like Taika Waititi does his best when he's like, I'm just going to go nuts. I'm going to go crazy in here.
Look at the latest Thor movie.
And then it's like, yeah. And then it's like, okay. And it's great if you have a situation where someone is able to come by later and clean up, or that's it. But when you have a situation that is closer to the bizarro fight we had for the sequel trilogy, like I don't know what your next step is.
Exactly, and that's kind of the problem, right? Like, and we've always talked about this on this show. It's like it's that shoehorning in of stories, the shoehorning in of timelines, right? That it causes issues, and Star Wars just can't seem to find a way out of this issue. And this is why, like, I'm just so dead set on just moving either forward in time or back in time with all of Star Wars and any new properties at this point. Because number one, it gets us away from the Skywalkers. Number two, it gives us just almost, dare I say, free reign on storytelling.
Yeah, I will say to Obi-Wan's credit, despite the fact that a lot of people object early on and whatnot, they explain themselves out of some self-created boxes rather well.
Yes.
Overall, the final product yielded the types of solutions that I was hopeful that they would yield. But I think the future, as Boris, you're saying, and as Tyler's pointed out, though, is that it's in things like Ahsoka. It's in these larger playgrounds. You can sandwich it, but you got to sandwich it by 30 years of unknown.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And by the same creator, Dave Filoni, and Dave working with Jon Favreau, right? Like hand in hand. The two are tag teaming it. So guess what? We need to storyboard this, or we need to figure out what's going on with Thrawn, or we need to go figure out what's going on with the Seventh Fleet, that type of thing. Then that's what The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and all these spin-offs in that kind of timeline get to actually do without feeling too much pressure about needing to incorporate First Order or any of this other stuff, because they compartmentalize that, and you can sit there and go, okay, it's believable. First Order came around, 7 years in proximity to Force Awakens. That leaves us 23 years of post-Imperial collapse to do something in Star Wars, right?
Yep.
Like to have some fun, to figure out what's going on, to figure out how this landscape is adapting to a post-Imperial presence or occupation. So I think those are all fantastic avenues to go with. And then you've got more movies for when you want to get beyond the train wreck that was the series, these sequel movies.
Yep, exactly.
I say that as trying to like Rise of Skywalker, but just saying.
But that's what it is, what it is, right? But that's Disney. That's Disney for you. Disney's outlook is looking very interesting. December 8th, we're getting a new tier of Disney for $7.99 a month. Now, this is what gets to me. Yes, a new tier with ads for $7.99 a month. Now, here's what gets to me. This is what pisses me off. Our tier, ad-free, for something we already pay for, a premium on is actually going up in price to $10.99 a month.
Yeah, well, that's the model, isn't it? And
Yeah.
get ready for Netflix to do something similar, to add ads, right?
Well, funny that you even say, well, they're starting to roll this out. They've teamed up with Microsoft for their ad version. But here's an interesting stat for you. Disney, and who I'm talking, not just Disney Plus, I'm talking Disney, Hulu, ESPN Plus. They have now officially topped Netflix with 221 million subscribers over all of their streaming services.
Nothing to see here. It's all going to plan.
Right?
Yeah,
Just
I
crazy.
believe we've projected this, right? Like, we knew that this is the crossover point, but it's just helped along by the migration away from Netflix that we're seeing customers do, right?
Yeah, that's
And
exactly
this
it.
is the worst. This is the worst period because I think that they made a lot of pish.
Yeah.
It's been my worst streaming service for a long time. They've made a lot of pish that hit the mark for me, or that missed the mark for me. But I gotta say, I'm really happy about Sandman, and I'm really happy about some of the other stuff that I've seen on there in documentaries and whatnot. There's been some redeeming factors to my Netflix subscription.
Yep. Now, going back to Disney, just to kind of wrap it up in a neat little bow, we talked about Star Wars, we talked about price increases, but yet they're having difficulty getting content out because of delays. Delays. Tyler, do you want to talk a little bit about this?
I mean, I might be the odd one here, but I'm actually okay with all these delays.
Yeah.
I have this weird phenomenon of like there's so much to watch, and part of it is them being like, look, here's the deal. We want to put out better content. And at some point you hit diminishing returns with people being just fucking exhausted. Right? Like even as someone who likes Cyberpunk 2077, it would have been better 6 months more in the cooker.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of where this is coming from. If they're just like, here's the deal. We have this aggressive timeline. And maybe humans just can't do it. As I alluded to earlier, like you're getting a lot of people out there who are just like, maybe I'm not gonna be in all weekend. Maybe no.
And
Yeah.
you know what? That's fine, Tyler. I 100% agree. But the issue is that when they put fans on notice, when they have these big conventions and they have these big media events and they say, put this date in your calendar, She-Hulk is happening. You know, put this date in your calendar, blah, blah, blah. And then the fans see a reel and they go, She-Hulk CGI looks a little off. Are you sure you want to do this? Because I'm not sure if I'm in if this is what it looks like. And then the response at that point is, well, how come we didn't vet this better? And then they're scrambling, right? And Andor, I get what you're saying. I'm glad that it's kind of moved away in the sense that, yeah, I get to watch Lord of the Rings and I get to watch this Game of Thrones thing, right? And not be having to battle for the hours that I have left over in the week. But they got to stop. It's the same thing with video games. Stop picking dates and putting a line in the sand. Like, say, second quarter 2023. And then if it moves to fourth quarter, it's an adjustment instead of saying, we'll put this in your calendar. We're gonna release it on March 31st.
That's not how marketing works, though.
Yeah, that's the issue.
I know.
Like, you're not gonna get coverage then. Like, yeah, Phil, that'd be fucking fantastic. That'd be great, but that's not how any of this works. If you're like, if you say Q4 2023, you're not getting any coverage.
Yep.
It could be Q3 2023, and you're just like, sometime next quarter, they're gonna tell you to go pound sand.
Yeah.
Like, right, like we all agree that there's just some systemic problems with the system. But, you know, one of the themes we've talked about for a long time is how much media, like journalistic coverage of pop culture is garbage. Because in part it encourages overhype, underdeliver.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly
It's
it.
frustrating. It's frustrating from especially the video game perspective because you just see so much rage, right?
Here's what gets to me about all of this. You know, we talk about negative fans and toxic fan bases. Well, you know what creates that, or not creates it, but you know what fuels that? Delays. And that's my one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I understand where Tyler's
my
coming
point.
from. I'm in the fucking tech industry. Like, I used to work at BlackBerry. I knows delays, right? Like, I knows delays. But from a fan's point of view, they don't give a shit about the process. They just want the end result, right? And that's kind of the thing.
They're a customer.
100%. What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say and allude to is the system's broke.
Exactly. And that's literally what's going to be my point. Like, and at the end of the day, the system at this point, it's done. And, you know, whether it was the COVID of it all, as you've been saying, Tyler, it's just like, I think going back to a theme that we've had, you know, the Pinky Kami show, and that's the workforce is just tired, right? Everyone is tired, and these unrealistic expectations of deadlines just can't be met. And I, for one, am okay with waiting a little extra time for stuff as long as it gets fleshed out, right? Cyberpunk 2077 is a good example. Halo is a great example. You know, it's just, here we are.
We'd still be waiting for Halo.
and I think we're all in agreement and trying to just kind of like get around the best way to voice that the COVID of it all has revealed some real underlying problems of, you know, every single person involved in the process is acting rationally.
Yes.
And we're getting shit results.
Yes.
Right? The audience is like, you told me to be ready, and it's garbage. And that's rational. Like, that is like, yeah, you paid for a modern video game in Canada, you're paying basically $100.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, that's a lot.
That's a fair amount of change.
Yep.
That's a fair amount of change. And it's very rational to be pissed off if the game doesn't live up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you look at the employee and they're like, I'm being asked to do crunch time again. Yeah. I have never seen my kid. Like, I don't know what my kid looks like.
Apparently, I had a boy.
I've never met them. When does this get fun? When is this worthwhile?
Yeah.
And like, that's a garbage deal.
And that's what you're seeing.
CEO,
and that's what you're seeing, right? You're just seeing overall burnout. You're seeing burnout. Yeah. You're seeing burnout at all levels in every industry. But again, me coming from the tech industry, man, people are just tired. People are quitting left, right, and center.
100%.
So, yeah.
I mean, look at nurses. Look at doctors just being like, I'm done. Why would I keep doing this?
But let's focus on the tech industry. And I don't expect an answer, but I'm going to pose something to you guys, and we can have a whole episode about this. How do you fix this? What is the solution to this? Oh, and then it will.
No, I can answer it from my perspective.
Go for it, Phil.
All right. Because I am experiencing these same quandaries. I'm experiencing crunch. Our company goes on these sprints, these surges or sprints, whatever we call them, end up with a ton of work that we've modified ourselves to be an agile project development versus waterfall, which basically is just faster sprints with more pressure and the customer's involvement. So all of this stuff is just killing us in our seats. And one of the biggest issues is understaffing and overworking.
Yep.
They have no metrics to understand how many times I get direct messaged over Teams, how many emails I get, how many tickets I closed, how many inquiries, how many phone calls, how many ways that somebody in my company decides to find tech support, and I'm in tech support. And so it is a thing.
What people need to realize is that you don't work for a startup. You work for an international conglomerate company. Like, this isn't a startup. This isn't out of someone's basement.
This is a rather large, this is a rather large corporate North American entity.
Yep.
So the amount of stress that I get some days is tantamount to me wanting to not do the work anymore and wanting to take that route, understanding its place in my life and just having to mitigate it to the point where I just try not to let it bother me anymore. But I know that everyone in the equation knows that I have a tough time letting that go.
Yeah.
All that being said, we're understaffed. We were built to monitor a closed network of 100 sites. We're being asked to monitor somebody's home internet times 3,000 people. And unfortunately, 4 guys on a goddamn team can't do that, especially when they're all putting in tickets. And all my boss does is go, oh, it's a lot of tickets. You better close them and just, get rid of them.
Yeah. Because it's all about metrics. It's all about the metrics to make the bosses and the powers that be look good. That's the issue that's
what my boss's issue is with now upper management. Upper management, the executives all want that metrics.
Yep.
That metric. But my boss goes, I know that guy can't even get away from his computer to take a shit most days. I know he's busy. So you don't need to do all this stuff as far as he's concerned.
The thing that gets to me the most is that we're hearing more stories of companies raising their goals, raising targets, to essentially fire people and not pay them what they're worth. So companies are literally moving the goalposts on employees who are already burnt out, tired, exhausted, and they're being expected to do more and more and more and more and more. And I don't see how anyone, and I'm looking at you, motherfucking Elon Musk, I don't understand how you expect anyone to want to work for you when you're constantly doing this on an already tired workforce. And we're getting to a point, my last point before we kind of put the bow on this is we're getting to a point where, look, when I started working for BlackBerry, I thought it was cool to work for BlackBerry. I thought it was cool to work for an international company like that, a well-known company. I'm telling you, people don't give a shit where they work anymore.
Oh, yeah. But back in the day, I saw this exact same thing manifest in a sales environment. Yeah. I used to work at Business Depot or Staples or whatever they call it now. And every time you come in, and same with IBM, you come in and you go, oh, here's your sales target. You got to do, IBM's a great example, $30,000 a month. You got to sell $30,000 a month. All right. Here's Fred. He's the $1 million man. He sells $1 million a month. Oh, okay. If you hit your goal, if you hit $3,000 a month, next month, $60,000. But I'm part-time. Doesn't matter. You hit your goal, goes up double.
Yep.
And then 120. They keep on escalating it. So you're bloody sweating your ass off just to keep your job. But then eventually the pressure gets to you and you just pop. I'm out. Sorry. Typing up a resignation on the back computer. See you later. That's it. I'm not even putting in 2 weeks. I'm just done.
And this is the thing.
End of the day, I'm done.
There are people who are willing to work their asses off because they don't know better just yet, right? Like, especially juniors, they're going to work their asses off. They're going to meet their targets. And then, once it comes time for a raise, it's kind of like that inevitable third season of a Netflix show. You're not going to get that raise. You're going to get written out. You're going to get canceled.
Yep. No, Boris, you'll get a 10-cent an hour raise.
Yeah. We don't even get cost of living anymore because cost of living's too high.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like I've been sitting there every year where I get a pay increase and it's minimal. And I'm like, well, that's the cost of living increase. And I'm like, well, apparently the grocery store doesn't observe this percentage increase. Like
1 or 2%, right?
I had a client come to me and say they can't raise, they couldn't raise my rates because their cost of living went up. And I responded with, and mine didn't?
Yeah. That's exactly it, right? Tyler, any final thoughts before we put a bow on this episode?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much to get into, and trying to the quickest version is, I think we keep talking about is the system's broken, right? Of you're all shitting on management, very rightfully so. Because if anyone's worth, the person who is the most wrong here are people in managerial roles, especially at the up level management. But it's worth noting that while being the most at fault, the ones with the most power, the situation's fucked up for them too, right? Because if you're middle management,
they're facing
if
the
you're
same
middle
issues.
Management, upper management doesn't give two fucks, right? I was trying to figure out in my head, what was it your manager, Phil, or your supervisor? What their life was? They're like,
oh
my
yeah,
staff can't do this, and they
I have every sympathy in the world for my direct manager.
And that's what I'm getting at,
but
right?
It's the executive. The executives, all they do is call for quarterly team meetings and 3 hours at a time. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do my work if I'm going to this meeting for 3 hours?
No,
Exactly.
yeah, like
How much of a disconnect can we have? And every division has this, and we've got 15 divisions in my area alone. And I'm like,
wait, I want to be clear. Fuck them. Fuck C-level suites in most companies, right?
Yeah.
Like they are. No modern version of mathematics justifies their what
level.
they get paid for their job, right? Like it does not make sense for Bezos or Musk or whoever to be as wealthy as they are for the work they've put in. That's fucked up. But it is how insane the entire system is. Of unless you're a Musk who functionally still controls the company, Tesla's publicly traded, but through sketchy board of directors stuff, he's able to do whatever the fuck he wants. And there's a reason that he's able to like defy the SEC, and his own staff is trying to revolt against him and can't, is because the board of directors backs him up. But like every single level is designed to create perverse incentives, and everything's broken. France is on fire. People are dying in the tens of thousands. What's the end game?
The end of civilization.
Right? That is so much of what it feels like where we're at. And it's so fucked up.
This is the end game. This is the end game, guys. So let's keep podcasts and let's keep with this
have a
geek
beer
therapy.
and play a video game and listen to a podcast.
You know, it's so funny. It's so funny that I always my last point before we wrap up this episode, and it's kind of a joke, got a little deep, but that's the type of world we live in now. I was perusing through social media. Guys, what do we say about this show? What is it?
It's all in canon.
Well, but like, why did we start this show, Phil? Why did we come back to this show?
Geek therapy.
This is the meme that I saw, and it was a tweet. Why do men start podcasts instead of going to therapy? That said.
Because it's the end times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it's all ending.
Because we are in therapy. We're just doing it with microphones and sending it out into the internet.
And people can get a hold of us. And Phil, you can tell them how.
Oh, just like the opening, the ending's going to be rusty, ladies and gentlemen. You can track us down on our website at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can look us up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, if they still list us, and just look us up on Google Play. If you like what you heard so far, make sure that you leave a comment or a subscribe or anything like that. We appreciate it. And tell your friends that you listen to the It's Canon podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to saddle up and hear a whole bunch of old men banter on.
Man, we are becoming old, Tyler. I'm loving this. We've been doing this show for 8 years. We're getting at that point. We're 7 years.
Yeah, we just keep getting proven right.
Yeah,
I don't want to be right.
Isn't it crazy? One day we're going to do, I'm going to go back to the archives and pick out certain predictions that we've had.
God, right?
And
here's the thing is, I know we were wrong, but I wish we were wrong more.
Yes.
Fair.
It is the It's Canon podcast, a podcast where we talk about everything geek, pop culture, and anything and everything, because as the title of the show says,
it's in canon. It's just in canon.
fantastic.